You guys have been messaging me to do videos on my most expensive fragrances and to do a video ranking them and then how much do they cost, their per mil price and so on. So I thought I'd put together a list of those fragrances. But you know what? I did a top 25 list for you guys today. It's 25 most expensive fragrances in my collection ranked, and the collection, this particular collection, is valued at $25,000. So $25,000 worth of fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about my top 25 most expensive fragrances, luxury fragrances, mostly niche houses. There's a designer here as well. I think it's just one designer. But the way I'm doing this video is not necessarily like, for example, the collection of Tom Ford's fragrances. The decanters like this one for Rose Prick, it's about $1,000, $940. So these are very, very expensive compared to their 100 ml. Of course, the 100 ml turns out to be even more expensive when you do the per mil price versus something like, let's say, Symphonium, which is 100 ml for about $650. So still, per mil price on that one is a lot higher, but in general, the fragrances themselves with the bottles that I have are really, really expensive. And yes, this is a collection of 25 fragrances. I do have 2 bonus fragrances. All are around $25,000 before tax, and I'm going to let you know the prices for each and then also per mil price, but the per mil price will include the tax rate as well. Before I get to the fragrances though, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So before I move on with the list, let me know what your most expensive fragrance is in your collection and why do you like that particular fragrance, so I can find out. And also, if you're not into expensive fragrances, let me know why. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the House of Frederic Malle. This is ranked in my favorites list. So this could be the most expensive fragrance, and the cheapest in this collection could be at number 1, but that's not how it is. We're starting off with Frederic Malle. We're ending with Frederic Malle. The first one we're ending or starting with is Dawn from the Desert Gems collection. $1,600, and it valued at $17.40 per mil. This is Oud, Labdanum, Olibanum, Rose, Vetiver, Oak Moss, and Pink Pepper. So in the end, it's kind of a resinous, smoky, incensey, spicy incense church amber fragrance, if that makes sense. There's a little bit of rose in there and a little bit of ambery touch sweetness, but it's a very, very cool, not cool, but it's a stark and cold experience. Because the incense in here, the Olibanum, makes the fragrance experience cooler rather than warmer, even though it has the labdanum to create this kind of ambery experience. It does smell like church. So Dawn at number 25. Moving on to the House of Tom Ford, the first of 4 fragrances in the decanters. This is Tuberose New, 250 ml bottle for $940. So when you factor in the 250 mLs of juice and then you know, with the tax and everything, it boils down to about $4.10 per mil. Very nicely priced compared to the Frederic Malle. But if you were to get the 100 ml of this bottle, if there is 100 or 50, the per mil price is definitely going to be higher. This to me is a very interesting tuberose fragrance in that it has Suede, Oud, Tuberose, Lily, Jasmine, Musk, Styrax, and Tonka beans. It's totally different than any other tuberose fragrances I have. It's a little challenging to wear. It's definitely dusty and granular rather than the smooth syrupy experience. And the tuberose, it seems like the tuberose has been butchered up. So it's not necessarily your beautiful tuberose. It's more of a, I don't know, like a rough tuberose kind of a, experience. Tuberose New from the House of Tom Ford in the Private Blend collection is at number 24. Moving on to the House of ROJA Parfums. Let me find the fragrance. It's right here. This is Musk Oud, this one right here. This is a fragrance valued at $765 and per mil price is $8.32 approximately. This is a musky oud fragrance in that it has oud, musk, leather, ambrette, rose, and jasmine. So it's kind of like your traditional deer musk-like experience with a little rose. There's a little vegetal touch here with the ambrette, musky, fruity, a little boozy, but it's got leather, it's got the oud, and definitely has the musk. And you can also smell the jasmine in here. There's definitely a jasmine-like presence. And to me, even though it's musk oud, it has a very chypre-like smell. And ROJA Parfums does chypre fragrances a lot. He loves chypre fragrances. So that particular fragrance, even though it's a musky oud fragrance, it does have a kind of a chypre backbone. So that is at number 23. Moving on to number 22, it's Teal or Tile from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI. This is $850, so it's about $9.25 per mil. So it's vanilla, blackwood, amber, ozonic notes, lemons, jasmine, musk, rose, and bergamot. So it's kind of a sweet, woody experience, but it doesn't do a lot more than that for me. It's mostly like the woods and vanilla, but it's definitely an intense fragrance. You do experience some of that kind of fresh, crisp, ozonic touches, and then of course some floral touches, and then the citrusy experience comes in as well. There's a little bit of a rose in the background as well, but that's what Tile or Teal is all about. So it's number 22. Number 21, going back to the Tom Ford house, it's fucking fabulous. So this particular fragrance was all the rage at one time. Everybody was talking about it, and you know, it's a decent fragrance. I like it, but it's not a wow fragrance, and it doesn't deserve the name FF, by the way. Once again, it's 250 ml for $940. If you get the 100 ml bottle, I think it's $500 for the 100 ml. So you're getting 150 ml more juice if you pay double the price. Well, 50 ml more juice for double the price. I think that's how it is. I could be wrong with the 100 ml price as well. So it's $409 per milliliter, but it features leather, tonka beans, sage, amber almonds, and cashmerean. Definitely has a musky edge to it, and definitely has the leathery experience, but it does have that kind of tonka bean bitter almondiness along with the almond note in here to have a very much a almondy presence, and then it's contrasted with that green kind of clary sage or sage note that's in here. Very unique fragrance, but I don't think it deserves the name. Let me know if you guys think it deserves the name. I'd like to find out. Moving on to the house of Fragrance Du Bois. This is Heritage. 100 ml bottle for $835. This is $9.08 per milliliter. And this is a gorgeous aldehydic fragrance. Definitely leaning feminine, but if you like aldehydes, the idea or the reminder of Chanel No. 5 or Kalesh from the house of Hermes, or something like First from the house of Van Cleef & Arpels, and more of an intense, robust version of a fragrance like that, you might want to try Heritage. It is a pricey fragrance though. Features notes of aldehydes, floral notes, orris, jasmine, bergamot, oud, and sandalwood. So just imagine a fragrance like Chanel No. 5 with the addition of oudiness, but it's very, very fizzy, sparkling, effervescence, and clean, but then eventually you'll experience the oudiness and the dry down. Heritage at number 20. Moving on to number 19, it's back to the house of ROJA Parfums. That's Amber Oud, this one right here, 100 ml for $765, so about $8.30 per mil. This is an amber experience with ambergris and also rose and saffron, so it's a different take on amber. To me, it's more of an oudy version rather than an amber. I get more oud and woods and rose in this one with the ambergris. An ambergris and amber to me don't have similarities. Ambergris is a lot more cooler experience versus an amber. In like to create the amber note, it's taking like warm and balsamic notes to create this kind of an amber experience. So it's a different kind of a fragrance experience, but it does have amber-like qualities. And once again, it has that signature ROJA Parfum kind of chypre-like smell to it, which is definitely great. But this one also features cinnamon, civet, birchwood, fig, and orris for a unique amber experience. Amber Oud at number 19. I'm going back to the house of TIZIANA TERENZI. It's Atlantide here, 100 ml for $770. So per mil price is about $8.37. And this is a fragrance that came in the like a tank, like a fish tank. So it was coming in water. I've gotten out of the water, it's got like a fish tank kind of a thing. It's swimming under the water experience, obviously, with the whole sea stars here, starfish thing. So this is tuberose, narcissus, passion fruit, bergamot, and rose. It's a fresh tuberose experience. It has that kind of yellow floral touch of the narcissus in here, but some fruitiness, some fresh fruity experience, bergamot and rose. So I would call this a fruity floral fragrance experience. It's definitely unique presentation, being that it's under the water, but if you need to take it out to wear it, you're gonna have to take it out of that fish tank kind of a thing that it's in. So Atlantide is at number 18. If you like fruity floral fragrances, definitely check that out. Moving on to the house of Tom Ford, it's SOLEIL BRULANT, this one right here. It's 250 ml bottle for $940. And again, this is $940 before tax, so with the tax, it's almost $1,000. And of course, per mil price from this particular bottle, it's $4.09. This particular fragrance I do enjoy a lot more than the Tuberose New. It's a honeyed experience, ambery, resinous, and it does feature amber, resins, honey, orange flower, woods, vetiver, leather, incense, and mandarin. The experience is great. It's kind of like an orangey, honeyed experience with the ambery dry down and woods and leather. Great fragrance. It's ended up at number 17, unfortunately. Moving on to the House of Fragrance du Bois once again. This is Eau de Jaune Intense, 100 ml for $6.95. The thing I forgot to mention is all the fragrances are over $600. My 2 bonus fragrances are just under $600. They were $595. So it's interesting that all these fragrances are valued at over $600, and this is $695, so it's $7.56 per ml. And this is a tropical floral experience, very warm and humid kind of an experience, a little beachy. It's tiare flower, fruity notes, pineapple, ylang-ylang, jasmine, more floral notes, vanilla, and oud. So the oud in here is definitely very minute amounts. It's not overwhelming with the oudy experience. But for me, it's mostly about the flowers. It's very, very tropical, as I said. Also has a very warm and humid kind of a tropical experience. Just imagine you're walking through that jungle. It's hot, it's humid, you're sweaty, and you could smell the fragrant flowers. And in the background, there's kind of like a sea kind of an experience, like a marine layer coming through. So that's the kind of fragrance this is. Eau de Jaune Intense at number 16. Next, going to the House of by KILIAN. It's Straight to Heaven in their big carafe version right here. This cost as a 250 ml for $870, so it turns out to be about $4 per ml price. So the fact that it has 250 ml kind of decreases the price, but if you go and buy one of their 50 ml bottles, the price is so high per ml price. But this was a love at first sniff for me. It's one of those fragrances I fell in love with at Saks, and I instantly bought a 50 ml bottle of it because it has a boozy, patchouli, woody, sweet vanillic fruitiness in here. So it's rum, cedar, vanilla, dried fruits, patchouli, nutmeg, amber, musk, and jasmine. Sadly, it's gotten weak, but this is a fairly old bottle. It's kind of gone down a bit, but I do enjoy these bottles. They're kind of beautiful bottles for sure. So Straight to Heaven at number 15 is one of the most expensive fragrances in my collection. And I brought this fragrance up already. It's Rose Prick from the House of Tom Ford. Once again, 250 ml bottle for $940, so about $4.10 per ml. It's Turkish rose, Bulgarian rose, May rose, patchouli, tonka beans, Sichuan pepper, turmeric. So it's spicy. It's, for me, it acts like a cheaper style of a fragrance, so I like that about this particular fragrance, and definitely smells great on me. It's not a syrupy kind of rosy fragrance experience. It's more dry, and you definitely pick up the lemony undertones with the Sichuan pepper and then the spiciness of the turmeric. So Rose Prick at number 14. Moving on to the House of ROJA Parfums once again. This is Diaghilev. 100 ml bottle for $1,050, so it turns out to be about $11.42 per ml with tax added. This is a Chypre fragrance. It's ROJA Parfums. He loves the Chypres. He's even mentioned it to me, and he's mentioned it on camera. I think he's mentioned on camera. I've got 2 interviews with ROJA Parfums. It's oak moss, ylang-ylang, peach, jasmine, musk, leather, patchouli, cumin, rose, cloves. So this, to me, it's kind of like a Mitsuko take, it's kind of like a take on Guerlain's Mitsuko, which Diaghilev, the opera, the guy from Russia, he's I think he was an opera promoter or a presenter. He was into the idea of spraying all the curtains with Mitsuko from Guerlain, and I guess this fragrance is inspired by that whole scenario. But if you like the idea of a kind of a fruity, dry, Chypre styling fragrance, try Diaghilev. I think it's definitely worth noting for this particular video. And if you like, like I said, if you like Mitsuko, try that to see how they compare. Moving on to the House of KILIAN once again. It's Black Phantom in the same carafe kind of bottle, 250 ml. $870, so about $4 per ml. And this, everybody knows this particular fragrance. It's a great, delicious, boozy, coffeed, milky, gourmand fragrance with dark chocolate, rum, caramel, coffee, almonds, sugarcane, sandalwood, and heliotrope. It's very, very delicious. And like I was saying earlier, I do enjoy these bottles a lot. They actually remind me of liqueur bottles, and I think they did a great job with the presentation of these bottles. I wish it was more full so you can see it full, but either way, Black Phantom is at number 12. Moving on to the house of ROJA Parfums once again. This might be the most expensive fragrance in my collection. It's Great Britain. It's 100 ml for $17.50. And this once again is another chypre, a leathery chypre, a little animalic, and definitely he's done a great job with it. Once again dry like Diaghilev, but you know, they're both dry and they both have that chypre-like backbone. You could smell it in the background. They do go in different directions, so they're different fragrances even though they're both chypre styles, if that makes sense. This is leather, castoreum, labdanum, rose, sage, jasmine, ambergris, cedar, oak moss, and orris. It's a great smelling fragrance. If you love chypre fragrances, definitely check out the ROJA Parfums fragrances, but they are definitely really expensive fragrances. This is really expensive at $17.50, so it's about $20 per mil for this. So if you were to go somewhere and buy a sample, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg for this particular fragrance. So Great Britain at number 11. Going back to the house of TIZIANA TERENZI once again, this is Velorum for a very delicious, creamy, white chocolatey fragrance. 100 ml, $8.50, so about $9.50 per mil. It's white chocolate, passion fruit, almonds, tea, lotus flower, musk, and vanilla. There's definitely something creamy, cozy about this one. Is it because of the white chocolate? Is it because of the tea? Whatever it is, it's a very delicious fragrance wearing experience, and also beast mode if you like those kind of fragrances. So it's fruity, creamy, chocolatey, but it's white chocolate. So it's Velorum from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI for a great smelling fragrance. I wasn't going to feature this particular fragrance. I decided to because it is very expensive. It's Baccarat Rouge 540 in the Extrait de Parfum concentration, 200 ml for about $2.50, so it turns out to be about $4.60 per mil. Very pricey. Of course, it's a lot higher per mil price when you do it off of the 70 ml bottle. So much more, and so this is a deal, but you still have to pay about $900 with tax for a bottle of this 200 ml bottle. It's ambergris, ambroxan, almonds, jasmine, and musk. By now everybody knows the way this fragrance smells. It's delicious, it's sexy, it's, you know, has the super projection and the sillage, and many compliments with this one. So Baccarat Rouge 540 in the Extrait de Parfum concentration at number 9. Moving on to the house of Xerjoff, it's Picovaya Dama. I have a 50 ml bottle here, but 100 ml will cost you $650. It's a delicious fragrance experience, once again with aldehydes like Heritage, but this is elegant, super elegant. So this particular fragrance will set you back $7.07 per mil. It's bergamot, neroli, iris, coriander, atlas cedar, patchouli, musk, vanilla, and sandalwood. If you like the idea of a very elegant aldehydic fragrance, once again reminiscent of something like Chanel No. 5, Calèche from Hermès, and First from the house of Van Cleef & Arpels, definitely check this one out. It's a really delicious fragrance. Picovaya Dama. Moving on to the house of the Fragrance du Bois once again, it's Sarah. This is a fragrance that was recently brought up with my interview of producer Michael. He really loves this fragrance from Fragrance du Bois, and I think it's a delicious fragrance. It's a great oudy fragrance. It's $975 for 100 ml, so about $10.70 per mil. It's oud, rose, amber, saffron, geranium, patchouli, pepper. This is one of the best oud rose combos, and I think it's to die for. It's concentrated, it's heavy, and it smells super sexy. The combination, all the notes work beautifully together, and I could see why producer Michael likes this particular fragrance, because I think it rocks. So at number 7, it's Sarah. If you like the idea of rose and oud, definitely check that fragrance out, because I think you're going to love it. Moving on to the house of Xerjoff once again, it's Symphonium. Once again, 100 ml, $6.50, so about $7.10 per mil. And I love this one because it's a gourmand. There's ouds here, two kinds of ouds, but it doesn't focus on the ouds too much. For me, it's chocolate, it's mandarin orange, it's vanilla, and then the ouds come in to add this kind of extra layer of like little funk and wood to this kind of like a gourmand fragrance experience. Very delicious. So Symphonium, definitely a pricey fragrance, but definitely a delicious fragrance. Moving on to the house of Frederic Malle once again. This is The Moon. Remember I said I'm starting with Frederic Malle, I'm ending with Frederic Malle, but this is also in the mix because this is $750 for 100 ml. So it's about $8.20 per mil with raspberry, oud, Olibanum, leather, saffron, rose, lychee, red berries. Man, this is to die for. Julien Rasquinet created a delicious fragrance. It's also not as expensive as Dawn and the Night, which the Night is coming up. But this one has this fruitiness, it has a little rosiness, it has a little smokiness, and you know, the oud and leather touches. A very delicious fragrance. This is The Moon from the house of Frederic Malle at number 5. Moving on to the house of ROJA Parfums once again, if I can find that fragrance. This is Parfum de la Nuit number 3. It's 100 ml for $13.30 or $13.50. So it's about $14-15 per mil. So it's pricey once again. And this is super, super sexy with leather, amber, cumin, sandalwood, gurjum balsam, labdanum, styrax, and cardamom. So it's leathery, it's ambery, it's got the spice, the cumin is prominent. It adds a very, very sexy layer to it. And I think it's to die for, kind of a delicious fragrance. So Parfum de la Nuit number 3, very, very pricey fragrance. And I definitely really love the way that one smells. So moving on to number 3, going back to the House of Fragrance Du Bois once again, it's Parisian. Man, Parisian was a discovery later last year, and I can't get enough of the way this one smells. This is rose done just beautifully, just intensely with oud and of course spices and of course ambery touches. It's 100 ml for $835, so it's about $9.10 per mil. And of course all these notes that I mentioned along with geranium, so for some aromatic touches, pink pepper for spice, grapefruit for some citrus, and along with the incense, cardamom, rose, oak moss, and labdanum and oud to make for a very, very delicious and very, very long-lasting fragrance wearing experience. Parisian is great at number 3. Moving on to the House of Xerjoff. Once again, it's Richwood. This is the last Xerjoff fragrance here. Richwood is to die for with patchouli. The patchouli is so prominent here. It's also the kind of patchouli that it has this chocolatiness, but it's more creamy white chocolatey. And a lot of people think this one is similar to Coromandel. I can see the similarities, but they're not identical, but it hints at one another. To me, Richwood is a lot more medicinal, and I like that medicinal touch about this one. So it doesn't have the more balanced experience that Coromandel has. Also, Richwood to me is a lot more intense, but in the end, 100 ml for $6.50, so about $7.10 per mil, but it's all about patchouli with sandalwood, vanilla, rose, musk, geranium, cassis. So for me, I don't think there is that sandalwood note in the Coromandel, and I think it's the sandalwood in here along with the patchouli. Both of them have kind of a medicinal touch that kind of like is amplified, and that's why I get like a medicinal experience with here, which is actually really, really great. I do enjoy medicinal fragrances, and it rocks here in Richwood. So Richwood at number 2, and my number 1 most expensive fragrance is The Night from Frederic Malle. Man, it's so good. This is 100 ml for $1,600. It's $17.40 per mil, and it's all about oud, rose, and amber. It's animalic, it's intense, it's dark, it's a little smoky, it's musky, it's floral, and it's created by Dominic Ropian. I think this is kind of like a takeoff of Portrait of a Lady, going into the nighttime with dark notes, more intense notes, stripping away some of the fruits, the spices that are in the Portrait of a Lady, and leaving us with a lot of oud on top of that. It's really, really great fragrance, and it deserves the number 1 spot, but it's a very, very pricey fragrance. $1,600 for 100 ml. Let me know if you've smelled that fragrance. Anyway guys, this is $25,000 worth of fragrances here in this list. Don't forget, I've got 2 more bonus fragrances from the House of Nichane, and those fragrances are $595 each. So everything that I've spoken to you about plus those 2 fragrances equals to just under $25,000. Are you a fan of luxury expensive fragrances? What are some of your favorite fragrances that are very, very expensive? Also, let me know if you're fans of these particular fragrances that I discussed with you today. Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out, and let me know what other very, very expensive fragrances I should check out that are definitely worth checking out. I'd like to find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. So I've got 2 fragrances from the House of Nichane. First off is Nefs. Nefs is 50 ml for $5.95, so it turns out to be about $12 and, well, let's say $13 approximately per mil. It's oud, rose, honey, saffron, fig, violet, osmanthus, jasmine, whiskey, vanilla, gurjum balsam. Very complex fragrance. This one just doesn't do it for me as much. I do have it, but I kind of, doesn't grab me. I don't know why. But this one has fans, but I love the bottle. Bottle is super, super sexy. I love that about this bottle. But this other one, Shem, I do quite enjoy a lot more. It's once again it's 50 ml for $5.95, and once again it's about $13 per mil. And the notes for this one are Turkish rose, cypriol, elemi, leather, vetiver, osmanthus, geranium, cardamom, and amber. This one is really, really great to wear, but the oud is gone. It's in the other one in Nefs. But in Shem, it's a delicious combination of rose and cypriol and, you know, elemi resin and leather color, and the combination works great. And I actually really love the color of this bottle because it's that green color. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this particular bottle color is the dark kind of glass color. But both of them, you know, both of them are great fragrances, but Neff's just doesn't call me. I don't know why. Shem does. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for sticking around for the bonus fragrances. Stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Bye-bye.